Number 62C on the review tells us to convert our equation into factored form. So to factor, since there's the 2 in front of the x squared, I'm going to factor this by grouping. I'm going to start by multiplying my a times my c. So the a is the 2 and the c is the negative 12. And 2 times negative 12 is negative 24. We want to use that number and find out what are two factors of negative 24. So what multiplies to be negative 24 and adds to be negative 5. So if it doesn't come to you right away, sometimes it's helpful to, off to the side, just list the factors of 24. And we're looking for ones that will add up to be negative 5. And I'm going to stop there because since it's negative 24, I know one of them is negative. And if this 8 is negative, 3 plus negative 8 will be the negative 5 I'm looking for here. Okay? So I'm going to take these two factors, and in my equation, I'm going to separate negative 5x, and I'm going to rewrite it as plus 3x minus 8x minus 12. So 3x minus 8x is the same thing as 5x. Now I'm going to group it, and sometimes it's helpful to put a little vertical line there so you can see the separation. And looking at my first two terms, I want to factor out as much as I can. With 2 and 3, I can't factor out any numbers other than 1. But with x squared and x, I can factor out an x. I can divide them both by x. Here's the x I'm dividing by, I'm factoring out. And when I divide this, 2x squared divided by x is 2x. 3x divided by x leaves me with just plus 3. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I want to divide by the biggest factor for negative 8 and negative 12. And the biggest thing I can divide them both by is going to be negative 4. So here's the negative 4 I'm factoring out. When I divide those two, I am left with 2x. Negative 12 divided by negative 4 is going to be positive 3. And this looks good. We want to make sure that our two factors that are in the parentheses right here should be the same thing in both parentheses, or we know we've made a mistake. Okay? That 2x plus 3 is the common factor in both of these two terms. So I'm going to divide both of these by that factor. I'm factoring out the 2x plus 3. And then I want to look to see what I'm left with. This 2x plus 3 is going to cancel out, and I'm only left with the x right here. This one also cancels out, and the only thing I'm left with there is the minus 4. So here's my factored form. We also want to identify what the roots are. So to find out the roots, remember we are looking for where it crosses the x-axis, and the x-axis is going to be where the parabola is equal to 0. Okay, so, sorry, where the y value is equal to 0. So I'm going to put the y as 0. In order to multiply two things together and get 0, I know that one of these two factors has to equal 0. So it is often helpful to set this up as a separate equation, or I guess two separate equations, equal to 0, and solve for x. So we can find out what both possibilities are if each one were to equal 0. So on this one, if I can subtract 3, I get 2x equals negative 3. And then if I divide both sides by 2, I did not leave myself enough room. I get negative 3 over 2, or 1.5, negative 1.5. On this one, all I have to do is add on 4, and we get x equals 4. So these would be our two roots. We'll be at where x equals 4 and where x equals negative 3 over 2. We can also write those as ordered pairs. Negative 3 over 2 comma 0 and 4 comma 0.